Rama 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 Ram, Rama 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 Ram, Rama 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 Ram, Rama 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 Ram.
Bhagwan Shri Yogi Ramsuratkumar ki
Jai.
Sarvam
Yogi Ramsuratkumar Arpanamastu.
மேல் அப்புறம் கீழே அப்புறம் மேல் எங்கே வைக்கணும் சார்? We have to be really grateful for making this possible. Grateful to Bhagwan for his grace to make it possible. We all have to gather in one place, and that in the powerful shrine of Bhagwan, and that we should be able to sing together in harmony, and that should be heard well. So even the mic needs Bhagwan's grace. Otherwise it doesn't work. Bhagwan used to say, even to open the eyes and close, we need Father's grace. To take the in-breath and out-breath, we need Father's grace. After in-breath, the out-breath may not go, and after the out-breath, the in-breath may not come in, unless we have Father's grace. So let's hope that the mic works well by Father's grace. Now Bhagwan, we shall shift over to Sanadi Street House, way back in 1980s. I was thinking that Agaram Jayaraman has written so much of what Bhagwan said, each one, as I said before, a diamond or a pearl of wisdom. And it's not enough that we talk about it just once and then think that it's enough. We have heard it once. It is Bhagwan's habit. If he gave us something, a piece of writing to read out, he would ask us to read out again and again and again, several times, sometimes up to 18, 19, 20 times. Until we got the meaning of it, we understood something of it. And especially these words of wisdom, we have to remember again and again and again. Digest it, mix it with our blood, and make it our very nature, so that the actions would come out of us very naturally, spontaneously. So I thought we could go through some of these teachings once again. It's not that I thought, even though I said it, every day I go and stand before Bhagwan and say, please drop something to my hand. Bhavati Bhikshande. And then after that, whatever I come across is his gift. So we should see what today's gift is, today's Bhiksha, from the Bhikshu. Bhagwan said, Shri Hanumanji comes to the rescue of sadhus and sannyasis. It is a belief in the north that whenever a sadhu, a sannyasi, is in danger, is being tortured by people, being beaten up by people, Shri Hanumanji would jump immediately and rescue them. Bhagwan said, that's what they believe there, but this beggar truly gets the help of Shri Hanumanji. Now that reminds us of one incident which I have talked about before, that once when Bhagwan was seated in the chariot mandap, it was past midnight, only a few people were there with him, and one of them was an American by name Bill. And suddenly 4 rowdies appeared on the street. They had some empty bottles and some knife, this and that. They sounded very violent. They were totally drunk. And they started to challenge. They threw abuse at Bhagwan and challenged him. Today we shall see how you exist, how you continue to exist. They wanted to throw the empty bottles upon him. Imagine, just put your place there, well past midnight. Bhagwan was still seated in the chariot mandap, a few people around. And suddenly these 4 rowdies, violent, drunk people, appearing with a knife, an empty glass bottle, threatening. And then you know what Bhagwan, this Mr. Will was thinking, my God, how dare they? And he so much wanted to go down the steps and attack them himself. He wanted to fight. But then he knew that single-handed he could not manage these 4 rowdies, violent, drunk rowdies. So he contained himself, but he was so angry, he was boiling. But Bhagwan was smiling. And Bhagwan said immediately, oh, Shri Hanumanji is here. Mahavishnu is here. Lord Shiva is here. He said it a little loudly for those people to hear. And this is all he said. And we do not know what transpired between Bhagwan and those people in those invisible moments. But the next minute, they screamed and ran away from the place. So we could assume that Shri Hanumanji was really there. They could have witnessed the huge form of Shri Hanuman. This is how the North Indians say that he comes to the rescue of the sadhus. Bhagwan also continued to say, Shri Hanumanji himself has written a Ramayana. It contains all the incidents as they happened. Whereas Valmiki had written it in a different way, but the way Valmiki had written was different. He was a poet. Shri Hanumanji's Ramayana carries all the facts as they happened. And then Bhagwan said, those who have Rama's grace, if any suffering so huge as ocean should happen to somebody, it would become the size of the foot of a cow. By Rama's grace, those who chant the name of Rama, those who worship Sri Rama, the suffering of the size of the ocean would reduce itself to the size of the foot of a cow. And Bhagwan went on to say, those who have attained the grace of Sri Rama, the fire would not burn. Rama is all in all. And those who chant Rama's name would sharpen, it would become sharp, and they would be filled with freshness. Now don't we all experience it while we chant the name Yogi Ramsuratkumar? We feel as though we are filled with a new strength and new freshness. And of course, chanting the name brings about all kinds of miracles. People write their examination much better. People act with this sense of resourcefulness in situations the minute they call out Yogi Ramsuratkumar. What really happens? The nama that we chant, Yogi Ramsuratkumar, it sharpens our brain, and then we do spontaneously the right thing. Bhagwan activates us into doing the right, resourceful action that is necessary in the circumstances. I remember another incident in the beginning, I think probably 1 year back, I spoke about it. It was in Mathaji Street House, probably late 70s. Once Srimati Rajakumari's people, her mother-in-law, sister-in-law, those people had come to Mathaji Street House, and seeing the way the things were all scattered there and the place full of dust, they took permission from Bhagwan to clean up. Bhagwan would never give permission to anybody to clean up the place, but that day he did to those ladies. And one of the ladies, her Rajakumari's sister-in-law, I think, she had a broomstick and she started to sweep the place. And Bhagwan made fun of her, said, "Oh, you are an MA. You are highly educated, and still you don't mind taking a broomstick and sweeping the place?" And suddenly, the elderly lady was inspired to ask Bhagwan, "Swamiji, how much have you studied? What have you studied? What have you done?" Immediately, Pat gave the reply from Bhagwan, "Oh, this beggar has studied only Ram now. This beggar knows nothing else. He has studied only Ram now." So you see, as we go on chanting the name, it sharpens our brain, and then everything becomes a study. One day we should be able to say to people that all we have studied is Yogi Ramsuratkumar now. Bhagwan said, Sant Tulsidas had written Ramayana, Ramacharita-manas. And he said, Tulsidas said, if one should describe the life of Sri Rama in one word, one could say it is peace. It is Rama's peace all through the incidents of his life. He never lost his temper. If he did, it was to bring himself into a mood for destroying the Rakshasas. It is one word, the whole life of Ramayana is peace, Rama's peace. And then Bhagwan said, when somebody said, Parashurama was also Mahavishnu's avatar, Sri Rama was also Mahavishnu's avatar, why is that? Sri Rama took away the tapas of Parashurama. Then Bhagwan said, denied stoutly and said, no, it's not as though Parashurama lost his tapas. See, he saw in Sri Rama the avatar of Narayana. And then he knew his time was over and Rama had much to do as an avatar, that Ravana had to be killed, that he needed all the strength. So he handed over the charge. This is how Bhagwan described. Do not think that Parashurama lost his tapas completely. He simply handed over his charge to another avatar of his own, Mahavishnu. And Bhagwan said, this beggar, Papa Ramdas gave only Ram Naam to everybody, but this beggar gives his own name, Yogi Ramsuratkumar, to chant, like Hiranyakashipu. But then, my Father, my Supreme Father, has promised this beggar, you can give your name to devotees, and when they call out your name, I would rush help to them. I would give them help, guidance and protection. If 1 lakh people should chant your name in different places, my help would go to them, to all those 1 lakh people in different places. You see, this is the promise of my Supreme Father. And so this beggar is giving his name. And what is more, he said, Bhagwan said, we have to note this quote. This beggar has given his own name to people to chant. This name not only helps those people who chant, it helps this beggar's work. It helps my Father's work when this form, pointing to himself, when this beggar does his work in this form, chanting this beggar's name helps my Supreme Father's work. So remember, let us all remember, every Nama, Yogi Ramsuratkumar, that we chant, not only helps us, not only helps our relatives and friends, it helps Yogi Ramsuratkumar's father's work. So that is the greatest, that is why Bhagwan used to say, your chanting the name is the greatest service that you can do to this beggar. Bhagwan said, people talk about seva. This beggar says, chanting this beggar's name is the greatest seva to this beggar. People talk about social service, not just Guru Seva or Rama Seva. They talk about social service, social seva. And then Bhagwan compared this. He said, doing social service without the thought of God, without the bhava that he is an instrument in the hands of God, and it is God who is making him do the social service. It's like a donkey carrying all that weight on its back. My God, what comparison. Truly, once you enter the social service, without any divine support, in the course of time, the whole thing would become a burden. a huge burden. And we may develop ego over our service, and that would be our fall. Whereas when you do the social service, as an instrument in the hands of God, you get continued divine support. And that would benefit lots of people. So this is what Bhagwan said. Bhagwan said, but the greatest social service is to chant the name of God. Every name of God that you chant will go to everyone, every creature in the universe. So this is the greatest social service. He said, how can we prove what the name of Rama does? One single name, Rama. The vibrations it produces, the energy it creates, embraces the whole world. Whereas when you feed somebody, say some sadhus, say 1,000 sadhus, it will benefit only those 1,000 sadhus. But when you chant the name Rama, even once, the vibrations created by this name embraces the whole world. Then Bhagwan said, strangely, oh, this beggar is no Rama Bhakta. It is just that Papa Ramdas initiated this beggar into Ramana, and then this beggar saw Ram as the all-pervasive, all-knowing, all-powerful, supreme presence. This beggar is no Rama Bhakta like you people. So he made fun of himself, and suddenly Sri Ramakrishna, who was present there, said, Swami, you are verily Sri Rama himself. How can you be a Rama Bhakta? You are Rama himself. And then Bhagwan laughed and laughed, his thunderous laughter. Such happy laughter which shook everybody there. Peals of laughter. He seemed very happy at the remark of Sri Ramakrishna here, that he understood. And then Bhagwan said, Yat bhavam tat bhavati. Whatever you think, that you become. If you think that this beggar is Sri Rama himself, this beggar is Sri Rama. If you worship this beggar as Vruddhagirishvara, this beggar would come to you as Vruddhagirishvara. If you worship this beggar as Vruddhambika, then this beggar, Vruddhambika's grace would reach out to you. If you worship this beggar as Lord Sundareshwara, Sundareshwara's grace would reach out to you. If you worship this beggar as Meenakshi, Goddess Meenakshi, this beggar would come to you as Goddess Meenakshi. In whichever form, in whichever bhava, in whichever attitude you worship this beggar would be that for you. This beggar is not limited to this body. If 1 lakh people should chant in 1 lakh different places, this beggar's grace will come to every one of them. It does not mean this beggar will go to everyone in this physical form, but this beggar's grace, blessings, would go to everyone. And then he went on to say, what is the criterion? Who is a jnani? How do you recognize him? What is his lakshana? What is his definition? Then Bhagwan went on to say, no matter what happens, how terrible it is while it's happening, if someone is able to keep up his enthusiasm, his cheer, his peace, you can be very sure he's a jnani. Only a jnani is least disturbed by the circumstances. That is when you would know whether he's a jnani or not. When something terrible happens, he would still keep up his cheer and peace. This is the criterion. And then Bhagwan began to sing, Pallandi Pallandi Palakoti Noorandu Vazhiye Vazhiyave. Yogi Ramsuratkumar Neevir Vazhiye Vazhiyave. Meaning, many years, many crores of years, O Yogi Ramsuratkumar, you live on. You continue to live on. And then Bhagwan said, the very first word, Pallandu, you see it creates such a beautiful, divine atmosphere. It creates that kind of vibrations. People cannot understand what this beggar says now. People cannot even understand what this beggar's role is now. You must have a divine eye to be able to see what this beggar is doing for the entire cosmos. But trust this beggar. Have faith in his words. Remember the name. Remembering the name is remembering God, and remembering God is living in God. I remember when Swami was saying that the criterion, how do we define, how do we recognize a jnani? Bhagwan said that they keep up the cheer and peace. Now I remember one particular incident, I think I have spoken about it. In Sanadi Street House, once, Sri Ramanasham Ganeshanna went over to Bhagwan. He was in a fix. He was attacked by a severe problem, not health problem, but a social problem. And he was crying. He was in a crisis. He was unable to solve it. So he went and cried in front of Bhagwan. And then Bhagwan said, Ganesha, you come and cry to this beggar. When so many things happen to this beggar, where could he go? You have this beggar's shoulders to cry on. Where could this beggar go? And then Bhagwan described how a man who was selling this groundnuts, the nuts and the flat rice and puffed rice, was running a shop there. He was a Muslim. He spoke Urdu and Hindi. So Bhagwan befriended him. He would go there and buy some puffed rice whenever he felt hungry, because for a little money you get so much of puffed rice, and that was enough to appease his hunger. And sometimes this Muslim friend would also offer a cup of tea to him. And they could talk in Hindi. This was going on for quite some time. One day, when the unsuspecting Swami, Yogi Ramsuratkumar, entered the shop, the Muslim guy and a few others, political people, they pounced on Bhagwan, and then they started to beat him. Bhagwan could not believe his eyes that this very man who was befriending him all the time turned an enemy and was beating him up. They wanted Bhagwan to say, "Long live Hindi." long live Tamil, Hindi down down. Bhagwan said this beggar would say long live Tamil, but not the other one. That would not come out of this beggar's mouth. So they beat him up so much, dragged him and pushed him into a gutter, and they started to beat on his mouth, saying again and again, you have to say it, you have to say it. And Bhagwan said, you do whatever you like to this body. This beggar would not say it. And they beat him up until he became unconscious. So Bhagwan narrated this incident and said, you see what man does to man, what cruelties. And Ganeshana said, Swami, how much you must have felt at that time, the suffering. You know what Bhagwan said? No Ganesha, outside this body was suffering, taking all the punishment. But inside, this beggar was all Ananda. Now this Bhagwan is here, right in front of us. To him we shall submit today's prayer. Bhagwan, we beg you again and again for your immediate divine intervention to free the entire humanity from the clutches of this monstrous virus and bring back normalcy in every aspect of life. And Bhagwan kindly uproot the fear from the hearts of people and arrest the rapid spread of the disease. Enter all those medicines, the injections, to kill the entire crowd of viruses. And please bless all those people who have been affected by this corona, stranded for lack of facilities in the hospital. Please reach out to them, whatever is needed, so that they get well soon and return home safely. And Bhagwan, all those great, brave warriors who are fighting the disease at the very risk of their lives, for the sake of the other lives, please give them protection and all-round wellness. We beg you for a lift to our economy, and above all, please bless us with constant remembrance of the name. I remember the Sudama sisters. We all went once. It was the Griha Pravesa ceremony of Sudama, the new Sudama. We wanted to offer some money at the feet of Bhagwan as a small offering. We put it at his feet and said, Bhagwan, we want to give you so much, but this is all we could give. We want to give crores and crores of rupees. And then he said, I don't want this money. You can give this beggar crores and crores of namas. Only that would make this beggar rich. Nothing else can touch this beggar. So, Bhagwan, please bless us with constant remembrance of your name, so that we give you crores and crores of your nama, which will help your Father's work, which will help the entire cosmos. And Bhagwan, please bless us to be a willing and good instruments in your hands to go about our lives as an offering to you. And above all, give us that supreme blessing, so that we could see only your presence and your blessings in every happening of life. Jai Yogi Ramsuratkumar.
Yogi Ramsuratkumar.